Race number 2 here for the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Super Series at Anglesey on the Coastal Circuit. We're enjoying a typical Anglesey summer's afternoon here with very overcast skies, quite a bit of rain in the air, but not yet really falling on the circuit. Keep an eye out for that, though, as the race goes on. Race number 2, though, about to get underway. Race 1 won by Brian Chandler from Jake Bailey and Ben Short, the other podium finishers, and that will therefore make the grid for race number 2. So it is Chandler from Bailey from Short from Jackson, looking to try and improve on 4th place in race 1. Alec Livesley and Sam Bailey are on row 3, ahead of Simon Fleet and Simon Orange. The two Simons again inseparable. They're together on the 4th row. Matt Pickford and Pepe Planeta are next, then Russ Lindsay and Ray Rawley, Joseph Marshall-Burks and Liz Walton, with Jeremy Crook retirement in yesterday's race after contact with Simon Orange. He will come from the back in this one. So it is Brian Chandler on the pole position on the outside, though. The grippier line is Jake Bailey. Will that give him the run down towards turn 1? Let's find out. The lights go out and Brian Chandler makes a good start. Bailey does get his nose in front, though. Can he go right round the outside at turn 1 to get the inside for the banking? That's what he's going to try and do. Brian Chandler might just lean on him. They bang wing mirrors, but Bailey holds his ground and takes the race lead. Good stuff there from Jake Bailey. He goes through. Chandler second. Short is third. 4th position is Josh Jackson by the looks of it. And 5th place for Alec Livesley, who's having a really good weekend here at Anglesey. On board with Chandler, though, in 2nd position, looking back at Ben Short in 3rd. And as they come out of Church Corner, the slipstream starts to take effect, and Brian Chandler's on the grass as he tried to get as much speed out of the corner as possible. It was still a bit damp and greasy there after some overnight rain, and so Brian Chandler actually loses momentum up the hill and could come under pressure from the cars behind, which is exactly what's happening. Look at that, Ben Short going to the outside line. Now, these two have raced against each other in the Super Cup in times gone past. Last year, in fact, they were both racing in the Super Cup in the early part of the year at least, and Brian Chandler looking forward, I'm sure, to resuming that battle with Ben Short. He's a very quick driver, but not quite able to go through on that occasion. So Jackson then in 4th. We're on board with him now, the man who has won more races than anybody else this year. 9 wins so far in 2018 for Josh Jackson. Whenever he wins, he seems to win every race of the weekend. He won all 3 at Snetterton, he won all 3 at Alton Park as well. But then last time out at Silverstone, for the first time all year, we had 3 different winners from the 3 races. Jake Bailey won race 1, Ben Short race 2, and Josh Jackson race 3. And all 3 of those drivers are in the top 4 this time around, with our most recent race winner, Brian Chandler, in 2nd position. So Brian Chandler looking now to try and do a Josh Jackson and win all 3 races in a day if possible. Only the 2nd person to do that this year, or in a weekend I should say, because they tend to have 1 race on the Saturday, 2 on the Sunday, which means that you can often get different conditions across the set of races, but conditions this morning are actually remarkably similar to what they were yesterday afternoon. Overcast, a bit damp, a bit of drizzle in the air, and not all that warm. You can see the moisture on the track there from the overnight rain. It's just maybe making overtaking a bit difficult. You saw Brian Chandler there, he looked to the inside of Jake Bailey, hit a damp patch and locked the brake, so very easy to do that on a dry track where you just hit a slight damp patch and you've already got full pressure on the brakes, and then all of a sudden, of course, you have to release that pressure so as to avoid locking up. Brian Chandler, a veteran when it comes to Mazda MX-5 racing. He knows a thing or two about how to handle these things in any old conditions, and he's really giving young Jake Bailey a work over here. And Jake Bailey made a bit of a mistake there, ran deep into the corkscrew. That puts him offline now through the middle portion. He almost turned across the nose of Brian Chandler's number 76 car there, and they avoided contact by the smallest of margins, but this is holding the pair of them up and allowing Ben Short to get closer, I'd say. Through turn 1, back down towards the banking again, and it is Bailey leading, but for how much longer? Because Chandler looks the quicker of the 2, although nice line into the banking there for Bailey. The trouble is, though, with the length of that run up the hill towards Rocket and the headwind that you're usually driving into in that part of the circuit, you don't have to be that close to the car in front to get a whiff of a slipstream, and then it just takes over, and it's almost impossible to pull away, really, around a circuit like this. Up towards the top of the hill they go, and you can see there that Chandler's using that toe just to close back in again, and then through the 2nd half of the lap, that's where he seems to be really strong. Through the 1st half, Bailey is quick. Through the 2nd half, though, Chandler seems to have the edge. Look, he just takes slightly tighter lines, maybe got the car working better through the low-speed corners, and is able to latch right back onto the rear bumper now of the leading car. Turn through Peel Corner, back down towards the complex at the corkscrew once again. And Brian Chandler in range now to try and take the race lead away from Jake Bailey, who doesn't make the same mistake this time into the corkscrew. In fact, if anything, it's Chandler that looks the scrappiest of the two. Across the line they go again, and they're just starting to pull away now slightly from Ben Short in third position. And Josh Jackson not able to go with them at all, so I don't know what's up with Josh Jackson this weekend, but the pace is not there that we've seen at previous rounds of the year, where he's been almost unstoppable. And had we been scoring championship points, he would be the championship leader. But as it is, it's a series of races. It's all about the trophies. It's all about winning races above all else. And Josh Jackson doesn't look like he's going to win one today, at least not in this one. There are Simon Orange and Sam Bailey. Now, Sam Bailey finished ahead of the pair of Simons in the previous race. He's now splitting them. So Simon Orange is in front of him, and some way behind them, you might catch a glimpse there of the blue and pink of Simon Fleet. Simon Orange, though, appears to be waving Sam Bailey through there. He was waving something at Sam Bailey. Sam pulls to the left-hand side and looks as though he's going to go through. Is he? Simon Orange make it that easy for him. They moved over to the inside of the road slightly, but Bailey will go through. So Sam Bailey, who finished 6th in race 1, is back into the same position now here early on in race 2. Runs a bit wide though, and Orange comes back at him nearly. But Sam Bailey it is in the 107 car who hangs on to the position. Heads down now into the left corkscrew. International circuit, you can see there, disappears off up the hill towards the hairpin, and then back down through the final corner, where Sam Bailey has made his move and should now be, he hopes, able to pull away. I mean, it's not going to be quite so easy, I'm sure. Simon Orange has been getting quicker as the year's gone on, that's for sure. And Simon, who's had, again, he's one of those drivers that's been in the top 10 almost every race this year, really. He had, a bit like Jeremy Crook, Alton Park was his highlight, where he had a podium finish in race 1 and a 4th in race 2. Alton was one of those weekends where a few of the established names started to hit some trouble. Jake Bailey, for example, had quite a few issues that weekend, in fact. Didn't make the podium all weekend, did Jake? And that's where Simon Orange and Jeff Gurrier was racing, of course, with us that weekend. Jeremy Crook, Sam Bailey, they were all able to get podiums. Was Sam Bailey's best finish of the year. In fact, that 2nd place. He's had 2 podiums this year, a 3rd back at Brands Hatch, and indeed a 3rd at Snetterton, excuse me, so 2 thirds, and the 2nd place in Alton Park for Sam. Chaotic race 2. Now, Jeremy Crook, Simon Orange behind him, trying to find a way through as Brian Chandler finds a way through into the race lead. That was a really nice move there up the inside into the final corner, and we didn't see how that one started, but that did seem to be the part of the circuit where Bailey was a bit weak, just not quite able to carry the speed through the corners without losing the rear of the car, and so Chandler goes through. So Brian Chandler takes the race lead, but Jake Bailey trying to fight back as they go in towards the banking, takes the wide line in, tight line out, but it's not going to work. Instead, he'll have to get back in the slipstream now and try and attack as they go up straight towards the top of the hill. Takes a really nice tight line through Church Corner, and Jake Bailey, as long as he doesn't run too wide on the exit, will be right there with Brian Chandler. We'll have a grandstand view of this looking back at Jake Bailey. You can see the toe and how it just starts to pull Jake Bailey along that little bit more quickly. He looked to the right, but that would have been the outside line for Rocket. He didn't want to commit to that line until it was absolutely necessary. Now he commits to it with Brian Chandler going to the inside to defend. Jake Bailey just tried to outfox Brian, trying to force the mistake, and Brian just runs a bit wide there through the 2nd part of Rocket. Didn't seem to cost him too much speed though, did it? And so Bailey can't get it the inside into Peel. This battling is just bringing Ben Short back into play as well, as they once again head down the hill over the damp patches and into the corkscrew. This is just what Ben Short wants to see in front of him, these two falling over each other, because the more they do trip each other up, the slower they will go, the closer Ben Short will get, and once he's within slipstreaming range, which he almost is now, it'll be very hard to shake him off. Chandler having similar issues here with Jake Bailey, who will not say die. He's doing his best to stay with Brian Chandler. In fact, he's doing his best to find a way back ahead of him. And he's going to be back within that slipstreaming range again now down the back straight, although he's not quite as close as he was a lap ago. Shouldn't matter though, he should still pick up the toe and be able to get right onto the tail of the BC Cars Motorsport machine of Brian Chandler up the hill. Through they go, up towards Rocket again, and Chandler to the middle of the road. Bailey in the slipstream, and you can see the way he closes in there. Chandler just checking the brakes, making sure they're still working. If you whack a curb, and it's quite common to do it coming out of Church Corner, it can knock the brake pads away from the brake discs, and we've seen many an incident over the years here at Anglesey where drivers have arrived up at Rocket only to find that their brakes aren't working, and so that's why the drivers do that sometimes, going in a straight line. You might wonder why they're braking. They're not trying to brake check the car behind, they're just making sure they've got the pedal underneath them, because the last thing you want to do at the fastest part of the circuit is go to hit the brakes and have nothing there. Well, Jake Bailey is making sure that Brian Chandler's got plenty in his rear view mirror here to worry about. Brian defending into the last corner. Now, can Bailey get the exit speed right here? He's going to try it, isn't he, and try and get the run down towards turn 1, but Chandler just about has it covered, moves over to the inside again. Now, what about the exit from turn 1? This is where Bailey's been strong through the first sector of the lap. Carries good speed through the corner, but not enough to get alongside. Chandler, though, has to defend the inside line. He thought maybe he'd almost left a chink of an opening there, but now Ben Short is about to become an extra complication here for Jake Bailey, because no longer can Jake focus solely on attacking the car in front, Brian Chandler. He now has to watch his mirrors as well, because if he goes for a move that doesn't work, Chandler will go through. Short will go through. It's as simple as that. So Jake Bailey has to be careful here. He can't just start throwing the car up the outside, up the inside, anywhere he fancies. He's got to think this through. If he goes for a move, it has to be one that won't leave him vulnerable to attack from the car behind. But Ben Short is actually going on the attack anyway. He's now trying to draw alongside Jake Bailey, so this is turning into a really good race. The top 3 cars tied together as they go up through Rocket. And we are into now the second half of this race as well. With Brian Chandler leading, our race 1 winner, Jake Bailey second and Ben Short in third. There they are, the 3 of them together going down the hill in towards the corkscrew. It's often the way, though, that the car second or third in line looks the quickest, but that's just because they're forcing the lead car to defend, maybe make the odd mistake. As soon as the roles are reversed, it's always the car in front that seems to have the hardest time staying there. Across the line they go again, onto another lap. We completed 15 laps in race 1. I see no reason why we shouldn't complete the same amount in this one. Whoops, that's contact. Russ Lindsay and Pepe Planeta come together at the top of the hill. Pepe not best pleased with that. Didn't see how it started, so we can't pass judgment, but Russ Lindsay definitely involved. Both drivers continue though with not much damage. Bit of paint missing from their cars, but they should be all right. Now the leaders coming out of Church, Jake Bailey with a beautiful 4-wheel drift then through the fastest corner of the track, just flicking the windscreen wipers on. There are maybe a few more spots of moisture in the air, but that's not stopping him from attacking for the race lead. Closes in up the hill. Chandler defends the inside. Bailey sort of goes to the middle, and Short goes to the outside. None of them daring to leave the door open for the car behind them. See there the difficulty that Bailey was having. Ordinarily, if Ben Short wasn't there, he'd have just sailed down the outside and try and go around the outside and sort of get the inside line for the right-hand part of Rocket. He didn't dare do it because Short was there, and Short almost into the back of him there, going into Peel Corner. That was an ambitious place to try and make a move, but Ben Short is certainly committed and wants to try and move up onto the tail of Brian Chandler if at all possible. Back through the corkscrew. Beautiful rear-facing onboard shots here from Brian Chandler, and you can see there a little bit of a mistake maybe for Jake Bailey. This, meanwhile, is the fight that's going on just behind them between Alec Livesley and Sam Bailey. They are fighting over 5th position. Josh Jackson is somewhere just in front of them, sort of on his own in 4th, but this is the fight for 5th, and Alec Livesley having to get his elbows out now to keep Sam Bailey at bay. So Sam, having got past Simon Orange early on in the race, has been able to bridge the gap to Alec Livesley and could be able to take 5th place away before too much longer. Let's see. Oh, into the braking zone. There's almost contact between the two of them. They both went in a bit too deep on the brakes there, but Bailey gets the cut back underneath. No, not quite. Livesley hangs on. And they rush down towards Church Corner again, into the right-hander. Back along the School Straight. Alec Livesley in the tow is Sam Bailey, trying to find a way past him. And Bailey sees a gap up the inside. He's late on the brakes. It's not really room though there, is there? Well, Livesley actually, in fairness, left him more room than he needed to. Went off the track, in fact, to avoid contact. And Bailey really just pressuring Livesley off the road there. He goes through. Alec Livesley lives to fight another day with no damage, but does lose the place. He's got dirt on his tyres now as well, so he understeers wide up at the next corner at Peel. Sam Bailey will also have dirt on his tyres now after that little bit of grass tracking. And so he'll have to be a bit cautious, particularly when he turns right here through the corkscrew. And yeah, slows it right down. Nicely done. Sam knows what he's doing, a reasonably experienced racer. Realises that there's no point going hell for leather into that corner. He knew he wouldn't have quite the grip that he should have done. cars here racing for 5th, 6th and 7th positions, working their way out of turn 1 into the banking. Again, Sam Bailey takes that really attacking line into the corner, sort of goes for the early apex and then just tries to get the car stopped, which he does. But not without a bit of screeching of tyres along the way. Back with the leaders meanwhile. Brian Chandler is still your race leader. Jake Bailey's got a bit more breathing room now over Ben Short behind, so he can concentrate fully once more on his efforts of attacking Brian Chandler. Although he seems to be able to force Chandler to defend into Rocket, it doesn't seem to be converted into a chance on the exit, although that time there was. Chandler got a bit too sideways, nearly ended up in the dirt, had to be able to defend, but you see 1 or 2 corners of defensive driving from Chandler, and Ben Short's right back with them again. You can see how it slows the pace of the 2 cars battling for position. Ben Short is able to join in the fun as well pretty quickly, so Chandler still leading. Windscreen wiper a bit more active now on Jake Bailey's car. He's flicking it on and off every so often, so it's definitely starting to drizzle a bit out there. Oof, and Bailey definitely looking quicker than Chandler now. He's forcing Brian to defend heavily around pretty much the whole track into the final third of the race now as well. Where is Jake Bailey going to be able to make his move though? Because Chandler, we've said it in the past in his Super Cup and his Mark 1 racing days, is one of the hardest Mazda MX-5 drivers to overtake. There's no such thing as an easy Mazda MX-5 driver to overtake, but Brian Chandler, one of the toughest. He races you hard but clean, generally, and he's not going to make that many mistakes either, although he was a bit scrappy then out of Church Corner, and Jake Bailey gets himself alongside. He's got his nose in front. This could be the chance he was looking for. Yes, Jake Bailey goes through. He's finally, just as I was saying, Brian Chandler doesn't make many mistakes. He made a mistake, and he gives the race lead back to Jake Bailey, who's now having to defend in towards Rocket. Chandler goes around the outside, ends up on the grass. Now, where's Ben Short in all of this? Is he able to draw alongside? No is the answer. So Jake Bailey, in the latter stages of the race, has moved through into the race lead. Can he stay there? That now becomes the next question. Was Brian Chandler, of course, now is going to be the man that benefits from the hole in the air being punched by the race leader. He will have the slipstream up the back straight. And Jake Bailey really could do with pulling away, and he's pushing so hard that he's making a few little mistakes. Brian Chandler right back with him, almost pushing him through the corkscrew. This race building to a wonderful climax now between Brian Chandler, Jake Bailey and Ben Short, the 3 of them as one as they come across the start-finish line with only a few minutes left on the clock. Back through turn 1 they go, up towards the banking again, and Jake Bailey leading the way. Brian Chandler in second place, goes to the inside line. Bailey gets to the inside as well. Lock up from Chandler. Bailey runs wide. Brian Chandler's back up the inside again. They make contact on the exit of the corner. More paint is traded. They're bumping and boring all the way down towards Church Corner, but Chandler has the inside line and he might be about to go back through. And more to the point, watch Ben Short as he tries to get on the inside as well. Oh, completely sideways from Ben Short, and he did a marvellous job of saving that slide, but it is Chandler back in front with some really robust driving. Now Bailey won't take kindly to that. He will want to fight back as soon as he can. Goes back to the outside. You can see what's coming here. He's going to go try and go around the outside and risks getting shoveled off the road. Well, he outbraked himself anyway, ran wide, and Ben Short gets alongside him. Oh, this is all getting very, very intense indeed. Ben Short now trying to take second place away from Bailey, and this takes some of the pressure now away. Oh, look at that for a lunge up the inside. Ben Short, can he get the car stopped? Almost. There's a bit more contact between the 2 of them. Ben Short could see Brian Chandler escaping up the road and was having none of it, wanted to go after him, but Bailey hangs on despite the very, very wayward moment there for the 2 of them going through Peel Corner. And Ben Short is not able to go through. So Brian Chandler comes out onto the pit straight, back in the lead, and ironically now has, I'd say, the most comfortable lead that anyone's had so far this race. And a lap ago, he was down in second place. That's the way it works sometimes. One overtake can lead to another, and then a bit of contact, and all of a sudden the whole complexion of the race changes. And it is Chandler that leads the way. Ben Short looking increasingly sideways, though, as he tries everything he can to find a way past Jake Bailey. But they have now lost touch with Brian Chandler, and crucially, they've lost the toe. So I don't think they're going to be able to close back in on him over the remaining couple of minutes. This may be the last lap. We may squeeze one more out of it, I think. Yeah, lapping in the 120s, we should get one more lap after this one. And it now becomes about the fight for second place between Jake Bailey and Ben Short. Up the hill they will go. Into the braking zone. Short looks to the inside, but Bailey was late enough on the brakes to cover that one. The Coastal Circuit once again producing some thrilling racing. The BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Super Cup once again producing thrilling racing. And the combination of the 2 leading to lots of entertainment here this morning. We've got another race to go still later on today. anything could happen in that one with rain in the air and the possibility of some really inclement conditions. We'll have to wait and see what the weather is like later on this afternoon. The race leader though, Brian Chandler, is coming down into the final corner and is going to see, I should imagine, the last lap board. Yes, he does. So across the line they go. Brian Chandler, yeah, quicker than the two cars behind him that time around by a significant margin. He's now built up over a 1 second advantage, so it looks as though Brian Chandler, despite the fact that a lap or so ago he lost the lead and nearly lost second place as well, he is going to take the race victory though. So Chandler heads up towards Church Corner again, flings it into the right-hander, carries as much speed through there as possible. It's virtually flat out. You sometimes have to feather the throttle, especially if it's a bit slippy or if there are other cars around you. Generally speaking, it's flat out through there. You can see he's put the windscreen wipers on now though, so it's starting to rain a bit more heavily, and that will mean he's being a bit more tentative. That will not help him either, because Liz Walton has just spun not that far up the road from the race leader. There goes Chandler, look, so Chandler picks his way through, but that was a dramatic moment on the final lap. It's definitely started to get quite treacherous out there now. I think the rain is starting to come in, although Chandler now turns his windscreen wipers off again at the far end of the circuit. It can often be a bit isolated around here as the rain comes in off the sea. But it is going to be Chandler, I think, with only 3 corners to go, who is going to double up here in the MX-5 Super Series. He won his first ever race in the series yesterday, and now here this morning he's going to take a second race win. 2 from 2 for Brian Chandler after a fantastic race with Jake Bailey. Jake it is who comes home in second place, and Ben Short will cross the line in third. Confirmation of that result then: Chandler, Bailey and Short from Josh Jackson 4th, and Sam Bailey 5th. Alec Livesley is 6th, then Simon Orange and Simon Fleet, again never far apart, with Jeremy Crook into the top 10 ahead of Matt Pickford. Joseph Marshall-Burks, Ray Worley and Liz Walton round out the finishers, with Russ Lindsay and Pepe Planeta both out after their contact.
Ryan, 2 from 2 in what's a guest appearance this weekend here at Anglesey. I think you're showing everyone what you can do.
Yeah, it's good to be back in the car. I'm enjoying myself. Like I say, I've not been out since last year, so yeah, I'm having a laugh, having a fun, and yeah, that was hard. That one, that was that was like racing James and Tom and Ben all over again. That was, yeah, I struggle with that one.
I had a good start on Brian. Led it for quite a few laps at the start, and then he got past me, showed some experience there, and then I made a mistake. He got past me again. We swapped places a few times. In the end, yeah, he beat me, but it was a good race nonetheless.